Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. And today's episode is Merlin, Season 3, Episode 9, Queen of Hearts. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happened in the episode. So with this episode, Morgana, while asleep, has a dream of Gwen being crowned queen by Arthur's side. And this, of course, leaves her resentful because she wants to be queen now that she knows that she's Uther's daughter. This then leads to her going to meet her sister Morgause, who basically tells her that the way to stop the dream from coming true is to destroy whatever feelings Gwen and Arthur have for each other. And so she then begins to plot, and she encourages both Gwen and Arthur to follow their feelings, saying that she noticed because they were so obvious and so obviously in love, and she supports them. And this leads to Arthur inviting Guinevere out on a date. And so Merlin helps them to prepare a picnic date, and Morgana then has Uther go out on a horse ride with her where they pass the picnic and find Arthur and Guinevere kissing, which at first Uther doesn't mind because, he was young once. He understands the temptations of a serving person, but, you know, that's just not going to fly for, an actual relationship, a fling, a purely physical relationship is fine, but loving a serving person, totally different. And so essentially, he demands Arthur end the relationship. Arthur, Arthur refuses to do so because he loves Gwen. And Morgana, who is also planning this ahead of time, hid a poultice or a charm bag under Arthur's pillow. So when that is found, Guinevere is then arrested for sorcery and sentenced to death, which, of course, nobody who likes Gwen wants, only Morgana wants it. Merlin goes to visit her in the cell, and she says that as she was being dragged out, she saw Morgana smile, but of course, Uther won't believe anything negative about Morgana, and so they come up with another plan, and Merlin takes an aging potion, becoming Dragoon the Great, and he goes into Arthur's room with a replica charm bag and puts it under the pillow, and then is, of course, caught red-handed with the charm bag, tries to flee, fails, is brought before Uther, says, "Oh yeah, I decided to make Uther fall in love with a servant because that would be so shameful for Camelot." And of course, the servant girl had no idea about it, neither does Arthur. So Gwen is set free and her banishment is rescinded. And Merlin is then put into the cage. Gaius comes over and is like, "I thought you were gonna like de-age yourself before you were captured. What's happening?" Turns out Merlin actually made his aging spell too strong and is no longer able to break it. So Gaius goes and works all night to create a de-aging potion for him to return back to his regular self. And he just manages it as Merlin is being led to the pyre. Once Merlin is outside being led to the pyre, Gaius shows him like the potion in his breast pocket. And so Merlin then sets the pyre on fire with his magic, makes a run for it, grabs the potion from Gaius, and runs inside of the castle, finding an alcove to take the potion in. And then, of course, Arthur finds the young Merlin, asks, "Did you see the guy?" And he says, "Oh, he went that way." And he's like, "And you didn't think to stop him?" And he's like, "Oh, he's too fast." And Arthur's like, "Well, he's 80." And Merlin's like, and then basically, because Merlin was missing all night, Gaius told Arthur that he was in the tavern. So Arthur believes that Merlin missed Dragoon because he was drunk and therefore sends him to muck out the stables. But essentially, everyone except Morgana is happy at the end of this episode. So now it's time to rank the episode, and as always, we'll be ranking on our mostly objective ranking list first. before moving on to the personal ranking list. So now we come to the mostly objective rank values. Now, I understand that Dragoon the Great is Merlin aged up. However, because he takes advantage of being old to cause a ruckus and behave in the ways that he probably wishes he could as Merlin, I feel like they're different enough in personality and behavior to count Dragoon the Great as a separate character, especially since by those within this universe he is also treated as a separate character because nobody knows he's Merlin. And so I did decide to count Dragoon the Great as a separate character from Merlin, and that is why he was worth 3 points as a multi-season supporting character introduction. We then have 4 points for our main relationship development, which is, of course, Arthur and Gwen getting to go on their picnic date, Arthur admitting that he's in love with Gwen, and though at the end they do decide to let everybody continue to believe that he was enchanted to love her, he sets the record straight with her that he is not enchanted and he truly does love her. And that is worth 4 points, so that brings us to 7 total. And then there, of course, is the negative messaging or behavior, which has to do with Morgana framing Guinevere with a crime that she knows carries a death sentence. So she essentially was trying to kill Gwen. And of course, that's very negative messaging or behavior, especially since Gwen has not done anything to her at any point. So that then brings this to our very first 5 out of 10 episode of the series. Not just the season, but the series. Bit of a milestone that we've reached. So now that it means our mostly objective ranking list has the Tears of Uther Pendragon in first, The Eye of the Phoenix, Love in the Time of Dragons, Goblin's Gold, The Crystal Cave, The Changeling. This episode came in 7th, Queen of Hearts, The Castle of Furin, and then Gwaine is in 9th place so far. Now my personal ranking. Typically, I obviously don't necessarily enjoy Gwen heavy episodes, but this one really wasn't super Gwen heavy since she was in jail for a lot of it, and it did really heavily focus on Merlin. So with Merlin, I have just a general complaint and observation. Merlin is supposed to be the most powerful sorcerer, warlock, whatever, to have ever lived of all time. Bar none. He is supposed to be like magic itself incarnate. And yet somehow like every magical being is more powerful than him or gets the jump on him. Or even he himself casts spells that he himself cannot break. Like, I just feel like they really, really should not have established his character as being all powerful if they were going to make him so freaking weak. However, that being said, if I was super powerfully magical and I disguised myself in a way that nobody else would be able to know it was me, I would be using magic for like everything. If my point was to get caught using magic, I would just be going off using it for everything. Everything. I wouldn't even walk. I would levitate. I would be using it for everything because you have an excuse now to just go off and use it. And Merlin does take the excuse to go off, but he does so verbally by, calling out the king for his bad behavior and all the people he's hurt, and then turning around on Arthur for mistreating his servants and having a toad face and such. So he does sort of use the excuse to go off, but he does it verbally. And I'm just like, if I was in your shoes, I would do it magically. Like, I don't know why you're not just like, your eyes are not like just permanently gold here having like a great time, because you actually can at this point use magic for whatever the heck you want because you're playing the part of a sorcerer that has to get caught using magic anyways. But I feel like it was a missed opportunity. I understand probably for budgetary reasons why they didn't go that route, because obviously it costs money to put in special effects. So I get it for the show why they didn't, but I just felt like it was a very, very big missed opportunity there. Obviously, there was comedy with with the whole Dragoon the Great character and Merlin being able to kind of express a more obstinate side of himself, and that was really fun. And then, of course, Morgana being subtly evil throughout all of it. Like everybody at this point has figured her out except Arthur and Uther. But Gwen's figured her out. Gaius has figured her out. Merlin has figured her out. And I'm sure it's only a matter of time until Arthur figures her out, and then the only one who won't is probably Uther. I can't remember if he does before the end or if he doesn't, but either way, Morgana is evil, but I still like Morgana as a character. I think she makes a good villainess. And then, like I said, I don't really care about the Gwen and Arthur bits of things, so that didn't amuse me at all. And then, of course, Uther. I feel like when the season one started, I felt like even though he made decisions that were maybe less kind, they made sense for the people that he was leading. So I was like, even though he's, you know, not the greatest, he is actually making good decisions as a leader. However, as always, when it comes to magic, Uther does not make any good decisions ever because he's way too biased and blind, which of course is what leads to Gwen being sentenced to death with like only a charm being found under Arthur's pillow, but no evidence that she's the one who put it there. So I did think that that was a little bit hasty of Uther. Overall, I didn't hate the episode, but as always, when it's Gwen heavy, I find that it's not one of my favorites either. And so I decided to give it a 6 out of 10, and those 6 points really are for the comedy and the Dragoon the Great saga. Um, so that brings our personal rankings to in first, Goblin's Gold, the Eye of the Phoenix, the Changeling, the Tears of Uther Pendragon, the Crystal Cave, Love in the Time of Dragons. This episode is 7th, Queen of Hearts, followed by Gwaine, and then in last place we have the Castle of Fierin. Bringing us to the series ranking so far. And on our mostly objective ranking, Season 2 has a score of 70.83%, Season 1 69.23%, and Season 3 so far 61 points out of 110. Reminder of the personal ranking, Season 2 is in first place, 70.83%. Season 1 with 66.92%, and Season 3 so far has a score of 63 out of 110. So with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Merlin Season 3, Episode 9, Queen of Hearts. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.